When word first came through that Leonard had died, we were already press with the December and January issue of Zoomer magazine, so of course we stopped the presses, and over the course of the following weekend we prepared this memorial edition, including my own remarks. There were many years, decades in fact, where the work that is today widely recognized as genius received little or no recognition. Still, Leonard kept working. Many people quit when they're persistently ignored, but as I said, when I inducted him into the Canadian Music Hall of Fame in 1991, his work is true. Of all the notable Canadian artists who've distinguished themselves over the past 50 years, I believe, in fact, I predict Leonard is the one who will last. I'm flooded with lines of his that are appropriate to the moment, because Leonard had a line for every moment of your life. And everybody knows he has this very droll line, and the first time you hear it, you think it's a little odd, because he says, everyone has this broken feeling like their father or their dog just died. So a little broken, I think that's how everybody is feeling right now. In 1992, while I was running the famous youth channel, Much Music, we began to play a certain 58-year-old singer's song called Closing Time. And he'd released that in support of his then new album called The Future. Up to that point, that singer's albums had typically posted modest Canadian sales in the range of 30 to 50,000 records, but The Future ended up going double platinum. That's 200,000 plus, up to 3. And it relaunched that singer's career. I remember record retailers calling up and saying, hey, what's going on? We have teenage girls coming in and asking for Leonard Cohen. So that song, that video, that album helped mark the beginning of Leonard Cohen 2.0. It's instructive to remember that most of the people and publications that extol him now dismissed him then for his nasal, reedy sound, his limited range, and his lyrics of gloom. They praised him today, but really, for a long, long time, I was the only guy who played him. Montreal, which in its monuments and memories has studiously ignored the enormous contributions of its Jewish population, now talks of raising a proper memorial to Leonard. But in 1983, when I produced I'm a Hotel, which was a novel, pioneering narrative video made up of 5 of Leonard's songs, and it was voted that year the very best program, TV program in the world at the festival in Montreux, and was offered to Radio-Canada. They rejected it on the grounds that Leonard was not a Quebec artist. So things have changed. When I first got hold of ZoomerRadio, they didn't play any Leonard either, and at the same time they were playing a fair amount of lame stuff, which had to do with meeting Canadian content quotas, so I would say play more Leonard. Eventually I put in an all Leonard program, and I think we're probably the only radio station on the planet that hasn't just played a little of Leonard, but a whole lot of Leonard. For me, Leonard is unique because people like Sinatra and Elvis, who we also play on weekends, seemingly blasted onto the scene full grown. Leonard ripened. If you listen to his early albums, his voice was, as I mentioned, quite weak. His great accomplishment was that he kept at it. He got control of his voice and acquired a later life lower register that was authentic and commanding. I wish I could do it. He took the time, sometimes years and sometimes a million a zillion drafts to find just the right word. He wrote elegant, smart, meaningful lyrics, and he married them to haunting music that lingers in the mind. I get more Leonard earworms than any other kind. He remained true to himself, and eventually the world swung back to the beauty and the profundity of his work. When it came to getting old and staying cool, nobody did it like Leonard. Leonard was 50 when he released Hallelujah, which would go on to become the most covered song of the modern era. That's amazing. And there are many lines to like in Leonard's work, but the ones I like in particular are ones where Leonard speaks for me, as if he speaks for me because of this music business that we shared. And it does have its ambiguous connections to commerce and to art. And I'm thinking of Tower of Song.
Yeah, my friends are gone.
Oh, my friends are gone and my hair is gray. I ache in the places where I used to play, and I'm crazy for love. But I'm not coming on, I'm just paying my rent every day in the Tower of Song.
I'm just paying my rent every day.
Now, you can say that I've grown bitter, but of this you may be sure the rich have got their channels in the bedrooms of the poor, and there's a mighty judgment coming. But I may be wrong, so you see, you hear these funny voices in the Tower of Song.
Floors above me in the Tower of Song.
We would catch glimpses of each other over the years at industry events and in Montreal, where he kept a place just off Boulevard Saint Laurent. We met there the day we went to Irving Layton's funeral. It was up the street from Schwartz's. Also, there was a little diner kitty corner to his house we used to frequent. And when we'd have a steak at Moshe's, he got the table, the Leonard Cohen table, the corner table, which could survey the entire room and which was otherwise reserved for wealthy business guys and other kinds of machers. I would also see him in Los Angeles once he came to a Pesach Seder at my place there. He had a very simple home in LA, in the flats. And if you visited him there, he was like a Jewish mother. He always wanted to feed you. After he started on that last great worldwide tour, I didn't see him much. I barely saw him. The last time I actually sat with him at length was in LA. I was there on business, and it was getting towards the end of the week, so I gave him a call. He said, look, when you're all done, come on over. And he gave me an address, which turned out not to be his house, but a Korean restaurant that he frequented in the area. It was Friday night, Shabbat. And there at a long table was Leonard, his gal Anjani, his son Adam, his son's girlfriend, and their newborn. And there was bulgogi and kimchi and japchae, and there was a challah, which he then distributed in the matter of an old Rebbe, giving us each a little chunk, which to say a benediction. So there was that Asian thing, his interest in Buddhism, Eastern spirituality, but at the same time he was a Jewish boy from Montreal. He liked to blend those things. Towards the end, he was calm in the face of death. As a seeker, he'd been dabbling with the idea of death for most of his career. His most recent and last album, You Want It Darker, is his last statement, but I think his song Going Home from a 2012 album called Old Ideas, that's the one. In my opinion, that's the perfect expression of what he knew was coming.
Going home without my sorrow.
Going home without my sorrow, going home sometime tomorrow, going home to where it's better than before. Going home without my burden, going home behind the curtain, going home without this costume. that I wore. So he had a sense he was getting close, and he told us about it. We were warned. In the same song, he also describes himself as a lazy bastard living in a suit. So that was his uniform. He wore very good suits. But the most lasting image that I will always have of him is of a man in a bare room trying to write the perfect song.
I love to speak with Leonard. He's a sportsman and a shepherd. He's a lazy bastard living in a suit.